Hi everyone, it's great to see you here, some new people and some people who have been here for the whole sessions, which is fantastic. We're just about to get started, just making sure that everyone is having an opportunity to log on and get started before I jump into the content. Might take this opportunity to welcome our CEO, Chris Povey.
Hi, everyone.
Chris is joining us as a live spectator and contributor. Great, I think we have most people logged on now. So I will kick off the session. There's a lot to get through in this session, so I'm going to move quite quickly. If you want to know anything in more detail, please don't hesitate to reach out after the session. So before I start, I would like to once again acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. There are many lands, we're in many places. For us here in the Melbourne office, that's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to pay respects to elders past and present. It was and always will be Aboriginal land. If you would like to make your own acknowledgement, please feel free to do so in the comments section. As you can see, we have a wide range of speakers today and a packed session. I'll be doing some introductory content, and then my colleague Laura will speak through a new project that we have. And we have contributions from Chris Owen at Norton Rose Fulbright, Nick Patrick at DLA Piper, and Brooke Massender at Herbert Smith Freehills. If you've been here all afternoon, this might be getting a bit repetitive, but I do like to introduce all of our sessions with Justice Connect's purpose. Our purpose is what roots all of our work. In the face of huge unmet legal need, we design and deliver high impact interventions to increase access to legal support and to achieve social justice. It's a bold aim, and it's one that we are all very passionate about. Our digital innovation work works towards this aim, as does the work of people the whole way across Justice Connect and our many partners and collaborators. Today's session is focused on our Pro Bono Portal product. We have two sessions on the Pro Bono Portal today because there are a range of projects happening around this product. This session is focused on how the product is being used in Australia and some of the projects that we have on foot here. The next session is going to focus on a really exciting project we have whereby we are making this platform available to peer organisations all around the world at no cost. Thanks to philanthropic support, we are able to provide the platform all the code for organisations to host themselves and use in exactly the same way that Justice Connect uses the platform here in Australia. The Pro Bono Portal was born out of our Gateway project, which I've referenced earlier today. It was a response to a lot of research that we'd done that really highlighted to us the legal ecosystem is complex, Justice Connect is complex, and there are opportunities for digital interventions to reduce that complexity and to increase our scale and impact. As you can see here, this little ecosystem diagram speaks to the complexity of the experience of a help seeker who is trying to connect up with legal help, something we've spoken about a lot today. In that complexity sits a particular challenge, which is how do we connect up people with unmet legal needs who would best be served by a pro bono lawyer as opposed to a legal assistance service? How do we make that connection? How do we identify the people? How do we identify the right lawyer? How do we do that efficiently and at scale? That's what our Pro Bono Portal is seeking to solve. As I've mentioned in previous presentations, in all of our digital innovation work, we bring our digital approach. It is that we are human-centred and driven by data and evidence. In particular, we involve end users in our design. We speak to those users before we build a product, we test the product while we're building it, and a product is never finished. We continue to evaluate and iterate our products taking into account new environmental circumstances and also that continuing feedback and perspective of our end users. We leverage technology where possible because there are opportunities to increase efficiency and to increase scale. We are not technology first. In some cases, a problem is not best solved with technology, and we won't pursue a technological solution where that's the case. But what we are looking for is opportunities to use technology smartly. In particular, we're interested in making system level interventions. We want to look at questions of scale where a small piece of work can have a really significant impact. And that's particularly the case when we're looking at products that work across an ecosystem. And the Pro Bono Portal is absolutely one of those products. Just to refresh again on our inclusion approach to product development, this slide gives a snapshot of some of the consultation, co-design and user research that we've done to inform the Pro Bono Portal. It is extensive to say the least, and I'm not going to go through each. If you are interested to hear more about this, it's covered in our introductory session. A little bit of a background to how the Pro Bono Portal came to be. In 2017, we started our research. In 2018, we started our development work, and we also did a lot of work on a tricky question of taxonomies. How do we create the lists that we're going to use in this system? Because there is no universally agreed list of legal problems. It's something that was mentioned in our AI presentation as well, that there are alternative versions of truth when it comes to what law applies and what should we call it. It's a feature of the legal landscape, and it's something that we've grappled with in this project, but we've taken a very inclusive approach to designing our taxonomies involving a huge range of stakeholders to reach our final position. In 2019, we ran a pilot of the platform with 14 law firms. It was very successful, and based on that pilot, we made a range of further development to the platform, and we then launched the platform to our 49 member firms. This was in 2019, which turned out to be fortuitous timing because, as we all know, over the summer that followed, we had a range of bushfires across Australia that were really devastating. And then the COVID-19 pandemic followed, as well as other natural disasters beyond, including recent floods. So what that meant is by having the platform in place at that point in time, we were able to leverage that platform to support disaster response at scale. So we enabled the platform to be a cornerstone in the legal sector's response to those disasters. We opened it up so that any firm that was interested could register, and we've ended up with 170 firms now registered on the Pro Bono Portal. We send out weekly distributions of matters that are related to disaster work to those firms. We also ran a few projects in Australia that were about extending the way the platform could be used. So the most interesting one is our CLC on the portal project, which I'll speak about a bit. And Laura, my colleague, is going to take you through a completely new area of work that we're undertaking to look at how we can add features that support the pro bono practice side of the platform. In terms of the feedback that we're getting on the Australian use of the Pro Bono Portal, it is extremely positive. We've got some quotes here from a range of our platform users at law firms who are noting that the platform is really delivering on its aim. It's better matching unmet need with resources. It is thoughtful. It's harnessing technology in line with Justice Connect's ambitions of using technology where it can make a real difference, a real impact. And also, importantly, our users have enjoyed being part of the process. It didn't feel like a pilot. It's the best pilot program I've been part of. That's something we're really passionate about. This work is only going to make a difference if it is an enjoyable experience for all of our stakeholders to be involved in it. One that we're really interested in is we've started to hear from law firms that having access to our Pro Bono Portal is actually changing the way that those firms are running their pro bono practices. This was one of the early indicators that there was perhaps more work that we could do in this space, which Laura will speak to later. Once we launched the Pro Bono portal, we saw a 50% increase in pro bono referrals in the 12 months that followed. That's a combination of the efficiency of the platform and also the context of all of those disasters that were happening in 2020. But it certainly speaks to the fact that once you're starting to use technological solutions, that scaling up becomes quite easy, quite straightforward. That scaling up occurred with no increase in headcount. It was something that we were able to deliver with our existing resources. Some other snapshot figures: we have 621 active users in Australia, 169 firms are using the portal as of today, and 2,700 pro bono opportunities have been published in the last few years since launch, and 1,983 of those have been successfully placed. I mentioned the disaster work and the role that the Pro Bono portal has played, and this is something that has really gone on to inform our approach to extending the portal. At the time of the disaster work, we came up with a solution where we would have a referral pathway where frontline workers could enter all the information about people, organisations that needed pro bono assistance directly into our system. That would then make it easy for us to publicise those opportunities on the Pro Bono portal and match them up with law firms. That worked very effectively, and using that approach, we were able to publish 199 disaster-related pro bono opportunities to the portal, and those were sent out to the 169 firms. But it did point to a question of, can we provide direct access to the portal for those frontline services so that we're not playing an intermediary role, so that they can log on and do that matching piece themselves? And that's how we came to our CLCs on the portal project. So the problem that we identified, which had come up in our research since 2016, but perhaps became more acute in a disaster context, was the fragmentation and the disorganisation of the approach to matching frontline services, community legal centres who are identifying people with legal need that would be well served by pro bono with all the available pro bono capacity. I mentioned in my introduction today that there is enormous capacity in the Australian pro bono network to take on matters. We've not yet reached the ceiling. Every time we scale up, the demand is met by pro bono lawyers, and we are still hearing regularly from law firms they want to do more. So we decided that to try to tackle this fragmentation would be one way to start to tap into that latent capacity in the pro bono network. What this diagram shows is the law firms are the blue circles, CLCs are the purple circles, and other frontline services are the yellow circles. And a person that needs help will often bounce around between those different organisations until they finally land at the right place. For a law firm, the experience of this is not great. If you're a pro bono coordinator, you will get many requests for help coming in all different ways: email, phone, even people ringing reception asking for help. And for a CLC, equally, they are trying to tap into that pro bono capacity, but not all CLCs really know, especially in a disaster context, who is the best law firm to approach in this scenario? Where am I going to get the quickest outcome? So there are tensions and problems on all sides. So we had the hypothesis that the portal could play a role in helping to resolve some of that fragmentation. We ran a huge amount of research and design processes to really test that thinking. We ran workshops, surveys, undertook journey mapping. We did that both with community legal centres and with law firms to really understand what was the potential of the Pro Bono portal here. Was there really potential, or were we making assumptions that could be invalidated? We also ran our Joining Up Justice project, which publishes a lot of the outcomes of that research. It shows the journey map of a help seeker and the journey map of a legal services organisation as they each try to work with each other, and the breakdown points along that journey, as well as the opportunities for digital innovation to play a role in resolving some of those pain points. Really encourage you to take a look at that website if that's of interest. So out of all that research, where we came to was we could add 2 new ways for community legal centres to interact with law firms. So options 3 and 4 on the slide there were the 2 options, the 2 main options that were available to CLCs pre this project. So CLCs could try to place a matter with Pro Bono themselves. Some CLCs have really deep Pro Bono networks and well-established pathways. Other CLCs, particularly the rural and regional CLCs around Australia, had fewer of those relationships. But that was an existing option. Another option that CLCs had was to make those referrals into Justice Connect so that Justice Connect could manage placing a matter with Pro Bono. They were the 2 options. And what we decided was we would like to add to the menu of options available to CLCs based on what we'd heard. And that was CLCs could become users of the Pro Bono portal in their own right rather than going through Justice Connect. And they would have 2 main ways of connecting up Pro Bono opportunities with Pro Bono lawyers. And the first way would be to use the portal to create an opportunity and then send that directly and privately to a particular firm in their network that they trusted around that area of work. The second way would be they could publish that opportunity up onto the opportunity board in the same way that Justice Connect uses our opportunity board. So the matter is posted, firms can browse those matters, and also our algorithms help by identifying unplaced matters on that board and alerting firms where those unplaced matters match their preferences, that they're sitting there looking to be taken up. So we wanted to create these 2 extra mechanisms to complement the 2 ones that were already available. The vision would be that we had a coordinated, tech-facilitated, scaled-up Pro Bono ecosystem that still empowered each of the actors in that ecosystem to have autonomy, discretion, options. The project looked a little bit like this. We ran the research and design over July to December 2020. We ran our development process between August and December 2020. We ran a refinement process in December, and we commenced our pilot in January 2021. So that is a very quick run through of the Pro Bono portal and our latest project, the CLCs on the portal pilot. And I would now like to hand over to Brooke Mussenden from Herbert Smith Freehills, who has been a huge support to this project, very engaged. And Brooke's going to offer some reflections on the experience of Herbert Smith Freehills of the portal in Australia generally, and this CLC's project as well. Thanks, Brooke.
Thanks, Kate. Hi, everyone. I'm coming in from Digital Country here in Coogee. It's great to be part of this broader discussion. I want to start with 2 really quick disclaimers. One, I'm a technophobe and was a big portal skeptic when I first heard of this idea. I thought, oh, why do law firms need this? We've got enough to think about already. I think, as Kate says, it's fair to say I am a convert of the highest order. So I'm going to make some sort of broad general observations and then offer a little bit of specific feedback that has come through from members of my team. And this is the second disclaimer. The portal is not something that I use myself every day, but it's something that I've heard a lot of feedback from successive members of the HSF team on. So I think, first of all, just to pick up on some of the really high level points that Kate's mentioned over the course of the afternoon, this really is user friendly. And I speak as somebody who has spent part of the morning trying to find something on one of our HSF learning and development systems. And it was a lot harder to find what I needed on some of our whiz-bang, highly produced, no doubt very expensive law firm systems. The end user focus that has been put into the design thinking is really evident, and the feedback has been consistently that this is not a difficult portal to maneuver around. The other, I guess, big picture thing that I would like to echo is the specific relevance to disaster response and the ability to reach regional and remote communities, whether that's in the context of the disaster response or more broadly due to the CLC expansion, I think have been some of the most sort of pivotal and strategic impacts of the project, and something that has really attracted and kept our interest in its future potential as well. Although we're obviously hoping that we're not having more bushfires and floods. I wonder whether we really have even seen anything like the full potential of the portal yet, because notwithstanding there is still latent potential in the system, as Kate's articulated, we've also had a particularly busy couple of years in many law firms. I know that capacity has been stretched and COVID challenges have stretched that even further. And I think that there's sort of huge potential as we look forward as some of those COVID and hopefully resourcing pressures ease into the future. So what does it look like if you're a pro bono practitioner? That's obviously a really high volume proposition, lots of requests coming and going, lots of elements to each request, whether it's conflicts, eligibility, capacity. And the feedback that we've had consistently is that the portal helps to streamline that process and keep all the data and all the information in one place. In terms of really specific feedback, the layout, Kate showed you a screenshot of the menu of opportunities. The way they are laid out enables you to see literally sort of at a glance, is this an area of law, is this an area of focus or an area of expertise that we are interested in as a law firm? And related to that, you can set your law firm profile so that you're going to get effectively a visual diet of things that you are more likely to be able to accept. So when I think back to pre-portal days where pro bono team members were fielding lots and lots of requests for things that we were never going to be able to do, that's not one of the time suck features that you get using the portal. There are really useful eligibility notes on each matter. So again, you're not having a double up looking at, is this something we can even do? All the information there is there in front of you. And there's a messaging feature that enables you to connect directly with Justice Connect on that specific matter. You don't have to say, hey, I'm writing about this matter, the one with X, Y, and Z. All that sort of data is built in so that you can have a direct dialogue with the Justice Connect team if you've got clarification questions, and that doesn't have to happen separately in an email channel. If you want to package up the information and send it in an email internally while you canvass a team's capacity or expertise to take it on, that's a really easy feature as well. So overall, what we've seen is, I think, a change in HSF's behaviour around Justice Connect referrals, from probably not necessarily seeing them as a core part of the day-to-day practice, to seeing this as a place that we can go and dip into when we've got capacity either within the team or within the firm, or we get those proactive requests, which often come in the context of disasters and other issues. And we've definitely seen our take-up of referrals increase through the use of the portal. Similarly, we've definitely seen the CLC pilot, as Kate mentioned earlier, open up opportunities to connect with CLCs that we weren't working with previously. So of the 14, I think there were only 4 or 5 that we were already in regular contact with. And the big potential there, and the potential behavioural change, is to be able to reach our services out of the usual urban CLC suspects. So all in all, it's been a really positive experience.
Thank you so much, Brooke. Really appreciate those reflections. It's been really wonderful working with Herbert Smith Freehills on these projects, because we have had really detailed feedback on that firm experience to help us really understand when certain features aren't working or aren't adding as much value as we thought they might, and opportunities to add new features that will add value. That's been a really integral part of the Pro Bono Portal project, is that open dialogue, so that we can make sure that the platform is really delivering on what people need. And we've also found that as firms become more active users of the platform, what they think they need has changed, because their practice is evolving, or because they're starting to think about different opportunities that the platform is enabling that point them in a slightly different direction. So it's a really evolving space, and it's been a wonderful working relationship. So thank you, Brooke. So I'm now going to move on to another project that reflects an extension of that original Pro Bono Portal product in Australia. I'm going to pass over to my wonderful colleague, Laura Elliott, who is a project lead in our team on a long-term secondment from DLA.
Thank you so much, Kate, and thank you, Brooke, as well for your reflections. We certainly had a similar experience using the Pro Bono Portal at DLA Piper, so I share a lot of your thoughts on that. So hi everyone, my name is Laura Elliott. I am a long-term secondee to Justice Connect, but I'm an senior associate in the Pro Bono team at DLA Piper. And I started my secondment just over 18 months ago now, with a focus on working on the firm manager project. And this was really born out of the success of the Pro Bono Portal in Australia that Kate has talked about. Firms that started using the Pro Bono Portal and received a high number of opportunities through there started to realise that they were kind of managing most of their work in the portal, and that it was really helpful to have everything in one place, and that they were kind of starting to manage everything else on the side. So out of this, all of these discussions occurred, and an idea was born to create an add-on module which enabled law firm pro bono teams to manage their practices using a similar tool. So if you're not familiar with how pro bono teams work within law firms, they operate in quite a similar manner to Justice Connect, actually, in that they're kind of like an internal clearinghouse within the firm. They receive requests for assistance, they triage them, they try to find lawyers who are willing to take them on or interested in taking them on pro bono, and then they see those through to completion. So that is where this project started, and two firms, DLA Piper and Norton Rose Fulbright, were particularly interested in this idea and very generously decided to support its development. And we have Nick Patrick and Chris Owen on the call with us today, and I'll be asking them some questions in a little bit about their experience working on this project. But Kate, if you could just go to the next slide, please. Just the next one. Thank you. This is the lay of the land as we discovered after speaking with a number of law firms, but really closely working with Norton Rose Fulbright and DLA Piper to understand the pain points and how the current processes work. This may be familiar to any of you who've worked in a pro bono team at a law firm, or anyone who works in this space really. Really high volumes of email traffic. So lots of emails back and forth. You can see all of the grey lines with all of the emails, emails between members of the team. It's quite difficult, especially if you work in an international team, to keep across what everyone else is doing and get that real high level view of the practice as a whole. There are many different referral pathways into the firm. A lot of the time, you know, it's phone calls and emails. Documents are often lost or stored in those emails, which makes it really difficult for job sharing. Kate touched on that a little bit before. It's kind of a bit trickier to keep on top of the status of everything. A lot of our reporting is done quite manually within firms, and it's a real pain point. It takes a lot of time to do it. And a number of the processes are quite administrative as well, quite resource intensive in terms of the amount of time they take. And it's often really difficult to communicate to lawyers in the firm what is going on in the pro bono team, what opportunities are available, how they can get involved, and assess people's interest easily. So that is where this tool comes in, this platform comes in, the firm manager. It is designed to not replace traditional kind of pro bono practices at all, but to supplement it and streamline it and really reduce some of the administrative burden that teams are facing. So the solution, if you go to the next slide, please, Kate, looks something like this. The firm manager sits in the middle. You can see it there. There are flexible ways that firms can receive requests for assistance. So obviously there's still the traditional methods. There's a consistent form that can be filled out to make sure that the same data is being collected every time, which is really helpful for reporting. And there's also a client-facing external form that clients can fill out themselves. Usually those repeat clients can fill out themselves, and then those requests for assistance will come straight into the platform and team members will be notified that there are new matters to look at. This helps to ensure that all of the matters are being kind of triaged in the same way. It's a one-stop shop for everything to be stored, so you can store documents, file notes, everything like that. It's not intended to replace traditional firm file management systems, but supplement it and kind of collect all of those things that are lost before a file is opened on internal systems. It gives you a real-time overview of everything that's happening. So this is not kind of segmented by jurisdiction. Anyone in the team can access all of the same information. It's extremely flexible in the way that you can view things on the platform. So you can choose to view as much or as little as you'd like. And it just really streamlines the process from end to end in terms of doing all of the administrative things that you need to do to get a pro bono matter up and running and allocated to a lawyer. And the other thing is, it is a one-stop shop. So if you do have team members who are job sharing or people go on leave, there's never a question of where things are up to. It helps you to manage that life cycle within the platform in one place. The key features are listed here. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, and often I find very similar to the Pro Bono Portal because it's been adapted to keep that kind of familiarity if you're already a user of the Pro Bono Portal, or to continue that very easy, simple user face if you're not familiar with the Pro Bono Portal. So you get automated notifications when things happen that you need to action, or if important things happen that you need to know about. It helps you to manage the workflow end to end. So everything from receiving the request through to its closure, including notifying people within the firm, lawyers within the firm, what you have available, what's going on, helping to understand their interest. If you have clinics, you can get expressions of interest, or any other matter, you can get an expression of interest. It keeps everything in one place. I think one of the key advantages is the comprehensive and powerful reporting, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But also from a tech perspective, it's super simple to deploy. So the developers at Justice Connect have done a phenomenal job at making this an extremely easy thing to roll out within a firm, because we know that can be tricky to navigate internal processes. So it's very easy to deploy. You don't really need any tech knowledge to know how to use it. And it is very customizable. So it's released on a single code base, but it is so customizable so that you can make sure it suits your needs, both in the way that you use it. So it's super flexible in the way that it can be used to, I guess, streamline your processes, but also customizable in terms of the data that you want to collect and see, and how you want to make sure that you're bringing in everything that you need for your reporting. And the other thing is you have complete data sovereignty, so it's hosted by the law firm. Justice Connect does not have any access to firm data or client data. It's completely separate, and the firm has full data sovereignty. Yeah, and I would love to introduce Nick Patrick, who's the head of responsible business at DLA Piper, and Chris Owen, who is a partner and the head of the pro bono team at Norton Rose Fulbright, and just ask for your reflections on the business case for this kind of project and why law firms would and should support this kind of digital innovation work, and the benefit that you see it bringing to your firm. So Nick, I might start with you. It's okay.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Laura. And hello, everybody. I think for us, we really recognized when we started trying to look at better measuring, particularly the impact of our work, that a lot of the firms' systems didn't capture the types of data sets that we really needed. So that was one of the big factors for us, is that we wanted to capture a broader range of data than we're able to presently. And actually, I should say Justice Connect has been fantastic at actually expanding the scope of the kind of data that's collected by the system so that it meets our needs. Also, the team at DLA Piper and the pro bono practice has just grown really exponentially over the last 5 or 6 years. In the pro bono team alone, there are around 50 people. Most of those are lawyers. Some of those are communications folk, reporting. Some of them are lawyers with specialist skill sets. It has become very difficult to manage that really effectively. I do worry about all of those issues that Laura's kind of raised in relation to, losing emails and clients having contact with different people in the team, or just trying to ensure that things don't get lost and those types of things. So that was a big one for us. And also, one of the things that I've also kind of struggled to manage is just kind of the allocation of resource across the team. I'm also, I really love that last slide that you showed, Laura, that had all of the kind of data analytics on it. And that was one of the, it was one of those slides that Kate showed me a few years ago that really first persuaded me that we really need this, so that we can actually look at, how many individual pro bono matters are being generated and placed into the firm by different members of the pro bono team. Are those matters running? How many matters are those? How many hours are those matters generating? How are different regions in the firm performing, not just different members of the team? And also the future potential of the data analytics and the potential to overlay things like AI or CRM systems as well into the stack. So, I think there's a lot of future potential as the data sets build up. We'll be able to do a lot more data analytics, and I'm happy to talk about the kind of AI potential that we see down the track, if that's something you want to talk about later. But I'll pause there to let Chris have a go.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, everyone. Good to be here. I'm dialing in from Wajak country here in Western Australia. Fully agree with everything that Laura and Nick have said, really, about the firm portal project, as we call it, or the firm manager, as it's more officially termed, I think. I guess from our end here at NRF, part of our strategic objective as a pro bono practice has been to support innovation. So we are regular users of a variety of the Justice Connect products that have been talked about over the course of today. And so when we were presented with the idea of helping to develop an internal firm manager product that used innovation as a way to help streamline and make more efficient the running of a pro bono practice, that was something that was very attractive to us and sort of a natural fit. And I think particularly as firms like mine move towards having larger pro bono practices, like Nick's said, DLA and other firms who have a number of people in the team spread over both different regions within different states, but also internationally, managing the practice becomes more and more difficult just by email traffic or phone calls. And so the firm manager tool is a really great way of doing that, particularly in our case, which is probably similar to a number of people on this call. You're running a number of 100 cases at any one time. They need to be tracked in a system that actually the conventional systems in a law firm are not necessarily wholly ideally placed to do. So even though, and I agree with Laura, this tool doesn't replace whatever file storage system your firm or other firms might use. What it does do is provide a slightly different way of capturing the ongoing progress with a file in real time. And then that real time element's also important, because a number of on this call will probably have had that kind of moment where we've needed to find out some information about a file, and I've had to go looking for it in a system, or maybe it's about financial data where you email your finance team and then they have to try and find it, and then it takes a while, and then maybe the moment's missed. Or maybe you get a call from another partner saying, hey, I'm going into a pitch, can you tell me all the cases you've done on First Nations pro bono work? And again, that then is some sort of email to finance, and assuming that's even tracked, which it probably isn't, and then you get something back 24 hours after the pitch was due. Probably familiar sentiments to some on this call. Certainly, I've had that experience previously. The idea of this portal, this internal management portal, is it does away with that, because you're in control, and it gives you the eyes as a pro bono team leader, but also as a member of the team, to be able to just self-serve that information and to access it more reliably and more quickly at the push of a button. Like Nick and like Laura, I think that the data side of it is really exciting. The analytics is really, really good. I think that's an area that we're very keen to help develop, and I think others who come on board will find that to be both useful, but also will want to tweak that themselves as well. So my final reflections is I think it really does sort of three things. It helps to manage the cases and the requests for help. It helps to allow you to sort of triage interest within the firm and to place work more easily in the firm. And then it allows you to have that sort of eyes and management over the practice. And so for all of those reasons, I think it's a really good product, and we've very much been enjoyed developing it with the great team at Justice Connect, in particular, Laura. Great shout out to you, Laura. You've been fantastic. So thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Chris and Nick. And I totally share all your sentiments. It's a very familiar feeling that you've described, Chris, of that. I'm conscious we've only got a couple of minutes left, but Nick, I would love to hear your thoughts. You just mentioned AI and kind of the future that you see. Just in a couple of sentences, I would love to hear your thoughts on the future potential. And Chris, if you have any other thoughts too, before we wrap up.
Yeah, sure. So as you know, Laura, one of the things that we're doing with the Gateway is we're asking a lot of questions of both the clients and also the lawyers about, how they are feeling about the type of legal assistance they're receiving, how happy they are with the outcome, and those types of things. And I think the easiest way to give you an example of how I think how AI could work would be to say, in the future, when we've got bigger data sets and we understand a little bit more about the success rate on particular types of matters, or the client satisfaction rate on particular types of matters, when a new request comes in, I think AI will be able to very quickly look at that request and give us either, maybe a green light or an orange light or a red light, that this is something that we perhaps should be doing or should carefully consider or maybe not do. I think it could even flag, where we might want to think twice before referring a case to a particular individual, because we might know, for example, that the last 5 clients that were supported by this person, pro bono clients, were pretty unsatisfied with the assistance they got from that particular lawyer. Or we might know that the last time we ran defamation cases in Australia, we've had unhappy clients or unsuccessful results. So we might just want to take a closer look at that type of matter. So I think AI can help us to better understand what we do well and where we should focus, and also where we should stay away. I think also, we've built into the system, into the client request field, a kind of link between that client request field and also our retainer letter, so that if a matter's approved, the retainer letter is kind of automatically generated. It's based very closely on what the client has asked us to do. we might also, once the pro bono team reviews that, we might look at it and say, okay, well, we're not prepared to do all of what you've asked us to do, but we're prepared to do kind of these parts of it. And that will go into the retainer letter. So, that's also a really important risk management tool for the firm to make sure that what's approved by the pro bono team is what's in the scope of the retainer and that type of thing. So, I think there's a lot of ways in which this is going to really improve the way we manage our pro bono work, both now and also in the future.
Yeah, we're short of time, but just to add to that, I completely agree with all of that. I think that we're at the start of the AI, automation, innovation, law tech world in the management of the pro bono practice, and that hopefully we will develop away from the very labor intensive and laborious large requirement for people to actually do those more admin staff tasks to an increasing world where we are able to use more AI and automation as we go forward. I would see this as the start of that journey, and I think it's the way of the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris and Nick, for your thoughts. And I'll hand back over to Kate. We've got a couple of minutes left. I think we've got 2 questions in the chat. Kate, if you were able to answer very quickly.
Thank you so much, Laura, and thank you to Chris and Nick. It's been such an interesting process building this new product alongside DLA and Norton Rose. Absolutely fantastic example of co-design where you're working very closely to define those requirements and then test it out. So if you are a firm that is interested in this project, we'd love to hear from you. We'll be more formally launching the product in around July. But if you'd like to hear more about it in the meantime, please do reach out. So we have a couple of questions that I'll very quickly answer. Have we come across decision bias challenges in our pro bono portal, particular matters or clients being repeatedly overlooked? This has been one of the challenges at Justice Connect ever since we've been a clearinghouse. I wouldn't characterise it as decision bias, but I would characterise it as a mismatch between where unmet need is in the community and where pro bono is able to assist. And up until now, we've not had very good data on that mismatch. We know it's there. And what we're now able to see is those matters that we just can't place. We can then run analytics over those matters and start to look at the trends so that we know that this type of matter, even though all these firms say that they want to do it, this particular type of matter, they can't get them over the line. So there's lots of opportunity to do that analysis. And then, of course, to have the conversations with the firms and ask, what is it about these types of matters that makes them really hard to accept? Is it that those teams are always really busy? Is it that there's some other issue at the firm? So this is the power of data. It enables us to really dig into those questions and actually find out what the problems are. Sometimes when we have identified a mismatch, we've actually started up a whole new legal service in that field to address the fact that the mismatch is there. And so what it turns into is an advocacy project for Justice Connect around the fact that there is this huge patch of unmet legal need in the community that is not being serviced by anyone. We have another question around, will we allow not-for-profit organisations to join directly to the portal for free? At this point, we have funding that supports us enabling CLCs to become posting users. That funding is quite limited at the moment. We are actively fundraising to be able to extend the scope of that project. If that is of interest, we'd love to hear from you. That at this point, the project is limited to community legal centres. But as we've shown today, I think this technology is very flexible and we can extend it and use it in different ways, so long as there's a good business case to do that and we're funded to support that work. So that's our last question for this session. Thank you again to our presenters, Brooke, Laura, Nick, Chris. It's just such a pleasure to be working with all of you on these projects. Justice Connect is so well supported by the firms. Thank you very much. Our next session will directly follow on. We are covering the Pro Bono Portal and its potential applications around the world. We have deployed the portal in 4 jurisdictions so far, and we'll have Jen Cheshire from LawWorks providing some reflections from a UK experience. So I'll see you back here in just a couple of minutes.